Had a really bad bleed one day. I was at work. I'll never forget it. I don't know where it came from. I just had a really, really, really bad bleed. So I got rushed to the hospital. And I don't want to be that person, right? I don't want to be in a moment of self-reflection that leads me to a depression.
Welcome to Purpose, Passion, and Prosperity. Are you ready for your breakthrough? Today, I'm here with Serene Jackson. Serene Jackson works with thread.org. She has come through their program, and now she actually works for the company. She went to the University of Maryland. She has 2 degrees. She has an interesting story about how she's moved forward in some of the trials and tribulations through her life. And I am so grateful. Can I say I am so grateful that she took the time of her day to come and sit with us and share her journey on purpose. Hey, Serene.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
It was a blessing that you sat down with right next to me at the brunch. It was really, really a blessing, and I had to have this conversation with you.
It was definitely good. I'm glad that I met a lot of good people.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for following up with me and making sure that we made this happen.
Absolutely.
Much appreciated.
I do appreciate you coming, really. I mean that from my heart. Let me start you with this. Tell me, so this is my loose up question. When's your birthday?
December 30th.
December, Capricorn.
A Capricorn.
Okay, I've done a lot of Capricorns. And let me explain my issue with the Capricorns. Okay, let me just be straightforward. My running joke is if they have a purse and you happen to hear a sound and you'd be looking around what that sound is, it's the ego screaming that they can't get out because they hold on to a dollar and make it scream. Is that true? Are you one of those Capricorns? Or
I can be. I can be. I think that I'm more on the other side. Like, I'm just real authentic. And I'm about my money. I just be like, listen, I don't need nothing getting away with my money. So the ego can go to the back sometimes. Okay. You got to put your pride to the side and get to it. So
I receive it.
Yeah.
So, do you carry any of the Capricorn traits?
Yeah, I can be a little stubborn.
A little?
I can be very stubborn. Let me change that. I can be very stubborn. I'm working on it.
You working on it?
Working on
okay, it's okay. Are you stubborn about the right things, though?
Yeah, I'm definitely I stand for what I believe in type of girl. I'm open to hearing other people's perspective, especially if it makes sense. I feel like as a Capricorn, things have to make sense for me. But if you're saying something and the perspective is right and I can agree on it, then I can push my own to the side and take on yours.
Okay. So that would make you a true GOAT, greatest of all time, huh? Mm-hmm. My first question I really, really want to ask, and I always start with this question because I'm interested. It's a question that you really have to have done some work and be self-aware. And so my first question to you is, who is Serene Jackson?
So I always think of myself as in a period of transformation, right? Serene Jackson is in a period of transformation. And what that means for me is that at 31, I've seen a lot of things and I've done a lot of things. And I feel like they've all led me here. And in some kind of way led to either my growth or me leaving some things, me picking up some things. But I'm a mom. And I'm just an authentic person, like I'm human. I can't really say, I'm one thing or another. I can say that I'm a combination of things, but that are all in works in progress, right? Like nothing is set in stone. Like I'm only 31, so I'm still learning, growing. I'm trying to find new ways to be a better me. And so I say that Serene Jackson is in transformation.
I received that. Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I have 3. 2 girls and a boy.
How old are they?
So 8, 9, and 11.
Okay, and do they run the house?
If you let them tell it, yes. Yes, for sure.
So they're 8, 9, and 11, 2 girls and 1 boy. Mm-hmm. Who's the youngest?
My son.
Oh, okay.
That's who runs the house. The king.
Okay, I received that. So in terms of, you told me a story when we first met. You're only 31, but you had a bout with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share a little bit about that?
So I had an endometrial cyst. Found out that it was cancerous. Why that, I feel like, is also like a part of the transformation for me. After that, I had a very like transformative mindset. I looked at life completely different. I feel like I looked at life different because it's different when you can get rid of something. Like on your own accord, you can just take some medicine and it can go away. It's very different when that's not the case, or when that's not the case for you. And then you're also very unsure, right? You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the next side looks like for you. And sometimes even when they're explaining it to you and people are telling you like, it's going to be okay, you're going to make it, you know, this happens to people all the time. It's like, but it happened to me. And that's what you have to internalize when you run into things like that. Like, this is happening to me, and how do I navigate what this looks like for me? And I feel like that just transformed like how I look at life. Like, I don't look at life no more like, oh, there's always tomorrow, because there might not be. And that's what I feel like is the biggest thing I took away from that experience, is just knowing that like everything in life happens for a reason. And I always say like life is going to fold you or mold you, and that's all on you to determine if you folding or if you molding. And I feel like that experience definitely molded me.
So it's going to either fold you,
fold you,
or mold you. Okay, I like that.
That's my motto for life, is that it's either those two things, and I ain't folding.
I receive it.
So
I receive it.
Yeah.
So during that time, did you have all of your kids? Had you already had all three of your kids?
So I actually had just had my son.
Got it. Okay.
I just had my son. And I had a lot of complications with my pregnancy.
Okay.
With my son.
And was that part of the reason?
Yes.
Was because, of course. Wow. So he was a blessed encounter, because you might have never known, right?
Exactly. And it all started from me having a random bleed. So I had placenta previa with my son, but I had a really bad bleed one day. I was at work. I'll never forget it. I don't know where it came from. I just had a really, really, really bad bleed. So I got rushed to the hospital. They were talking about doing an emergency C-section. Thankfully, didn't have to do that, but they did do some other tests, and that's kind of how everything
came to fruition.
Started. Yes.
Got you. And how long did it take for you to get through that process? Did you do chemo and all those kind of things?
So I did a mild chemo, like a Triset.
Okay.
Yes, but it wasn't a long term.
Okay.
It wasn't long term. Mine was short term.
So when you say short term, that
6
was
months.
6 months. Okay. And in those 6 months, what were you like? So I'm asking you this because my cousin kind of just went through this, but did they remove the endometrius?
Yes.
And then they gave you the chemo?
Well, I took medication first.
Okay.
And then I did chemo. What was I thinking? A couple of things. So my mom passed away from cancer. So the one thing I'll never forget, I actually can send you an image. I'll never forget this nurse. She said to me, "You're going to ring that bell." So when you beat cancer or any form of cancer, even if you have a cyst removed, any type of treatments that you take,
you ring the bell.
There's a bell. You ring the bell. And so she kept saying to me, because I would come in, it makes you very tired. And she would say, "You're going to ring that bell. You're going to ring that bell." And so I always would think like, my mom never rung the bell. I got to ring the bell. Like, that was like my whole thing. And then it's like, I have kids. So it's like,
yes,
I can't leave them.
Right.
Like, I have to get through this. And I feel like that's a whole nother thing that like going through stuff like that will unearth for you, is that like, I got to do this. Like, I got people now who depend on me, who are looking for me to be here, to be with them, to be present. And I can't not do that.
I receive it. Do you think that, I know the baby boy probably did, but do you think the two girls maybe had any inkling that their mom wasn't doing the best or wasn't feeling well?
I would say yes, more so just because of seeing like my mood changing from like how, like I'm a very energetic person, like very highly energetic.
Okay.
On a daily basis. So me kind of like not being that person, not being up in spirits, I definitely can say yes.
They recognize it. Yes. It's the kids now, when they come out, they're really like always halfway to adulthood already. I mean,
they come out like they've been here before.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. No question about it. We just had a goddaughter come out. 36 hours later, they're taking a picture of her. Her eyes are wide open. I'm thinking, how are your eyes wide open? You just got here. Mm-hmm. So it's really different. So in terms of purpose, tell me your journey. You went to college. You told me a lovely story about a paper you wrote. Mm-hmm. In terms of some of the things that you've experienced. So let's start with your childhood and then your evolution into going to college.
All right. So childhood. Like I said, my childhood was kind of like split between two different worlds, right? So my mom's side, and mind you, like I said, my mom passed away. So my relationship with my mom's side of the family didn't stem from my mom. It more so stemmed from my dad trying to bridge the gap between my mom being gone and my mom's side of the family. So that's already like a strain there because my dad is like seen as the outsider. My dad's side of the family was completely opposite of my mom's side of the family. Very religious. You know, everybody was either a pastor, a deacon, an usher, some way tied extremes to the church. And then on my mom's side, it was like they were always having house parties and there was a lot of drug use, drug abuse. So two different worlds. And I feel like as a kid, it's very hard to go one place and see one thing and go somewhere else and see something else. And then kind of try to have to flip and switch every time that you go between the two homes. At one point in time, I did live with my aunt for a while. Me and my stepmother had a lot of challenges with me growing up. My dad was a truck driver, so out of the household often. My stepmother had her own underlying issues that we still don't know what was wrong with her. But a lot of like resentment towards me just for being there. And I feel like my dad did try to overcompensate me in different ways, you know. So I guess she felt some type of way about that as well. Okay. Just feeling like, you know, my dad was doing too much just because of the absence of my mom. So yeah, it was just, childhood was hard. And I feel like as far as the route to college, that's kind of where Thread used to be the incentive mentoring program. Okay. So they got a name change. But when I was in the program, it was the incentive mentoring program. And I feel like Thread, for me, created the bridge to like success in a simple way, right? Because I had a lot of things, like a lot of outside challenges that at 12, 13 years old, you just don't know how to navigate, right?
You can't
like
process it.
You can't process it. And it's like if your home is not right, then you're taking everything from your home right to the school. And it's like school is like a release, right? Because like all different kinds of kids there. And some of them are in worse situations than you. And some of them are in better situations than you. And you're just like, where am I? Like, how am I straddling the fence here? So I definitely feel like Thread definitely helped a lot with kind of figuring out what it looks like to be supported and not just family support. And I feel like with my family being, I hate the term dysfunctional, but if I had to coin a term, it would be dysfunctional. With my family being the way that it was, I just feel like Thread was the support system and like the structure that I needed.
That's a great name that they came up with, Thread, the common thread.
Yeah, the common thread. Coming from a incentive mentoring program, like I said, I always say that like Thread is so much more fitting for what we are and who we are than the incentive mentoring program, because it definitely goes beyond mentoring. Explain
to people what Thread is, what the intensive mentoring program is, now Thread, so that, because we're talking about Thread like everybody knows what we're
Okay, sorry.
No.
So Thread. Thread is an organization that works with youth, but not just any old youth. We work with the most extraordinary youth. And the reason why I say that is because all of our students are in the lowest 25 percentile within their grade. We enroll in the 9th grade year, and we stay with our students for 10 plus years. And I say 10 plus years because as a student of the program, I'm still in contact with some of my mentors. And that we're talking 17 years now. So we definitely stay with our young people throughout the whole journey, from high school to college, if that's your choice, or other pathways into adulthood and things like that. We don't leave our students. It's crazy. We just had all staff. We talked about re-engagement efforts that we're doing to make sure that like none of our students are left behind, right? That we're still reaching out. We're still making efforts. We're still putting our best foot forward to keep our community connected.
That's awesome, because the consistency oftentimes, the consistency of somebody that's stable and they feel like that person cares. Mm-hmm. That's huge. I love that. I love that. So you end up working for Thread. Mm-hmm. How did that come about?
So I was a teacher, and one day, so Leah Ferguson, she no longer works with us, but Leah Ferguson was one of my volunteers. Transitioned into my friend, also the godmother of my daughter.
Okay.
She called me up one day and she said, Thread's hiring. And it was for like an office coordinator type position. And I was like, I was on my wits end with teaching. I was like, I got to get out of here.
What grade were you teaching?
I was teaching preschool.
Oh.
Exactly. We both had to laugh at that one.
Okay.
So I was teaching preschool, and I said, I have to do something else. Like, this is not it for me. So when she called me, I felt like it was right on time. And I was like, okay. I put in my 2 weeks and I started. And that was in 2018. And I just made the shift. And like I said, I started out as an office coordinator, started, improving upon my role, went back to school, got my degree, and then I went up the ladder and started working in HR, a little bit of a different sector around like risk mitigation and things like that, organizational risk mitigation. Again, went back and got another degree, and then still in the HR sector, but more so towards like HR strategy. So not so much traditional HR, but like strategic HR.
Okay. So you just did a whole thing when you went there.
I did.
It just changed the trajectory of your life.
It did.
Look at God. He always is moving.
It did.
My next question is, because I didn't ask this earlier, I was curious, how old were you when your mom died?
5.
Wow. That's a big loss. Mm-hmm. That's a big loss. And knowing that your mom was gone and that she died of cancer, and then you get cancer, that had to truly, I could see how that truly messed with you. Like, you were definitely going to ring the bell no matter what.
It was a thing. Ringing the bell was significant.
But when you rang that bell, it probably made you know that I can do anything I want at this point. It gave you the
and
strength.
that's why I say it's just about the power of transformation. So I've been in therapy for a while.
Okay.
And I often speak at our 9:15 Monday morning huddles about the power of transformation, a transformative mindset. I think I talked to you a little bit about this too. And that's like my staple thing is like, when you transform the way that you think, you transform the way that you live, you transform the things that you do, you transform the places that you go, you transform the people that you'll allow in your space. Like, everything is changed. But we're going bigger than change. We're going transformed. Okay? Because we can make a lot of changes in our lifetime and none of them stick, right?
Correct.
Like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to eat healthier. Okay, I'm going to eat healthier for about a week. And then I'm going to change back to what I was doing. But if I transform the way that my relationship with food, if I transform the way that I think about food, well, now that's more of a long-standing change.
Correct.
And that's kind of like where I landed in life from that experience. I feel like it was a transformative experience for me.
So, and I don't know if you can even answer this, but if cancer never happened, where would Serene Jackson be? What do you think? Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I think I would still be the old me, which was not the best person, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
A lot of entitlement, right? Like, a lot of entitlement, a lot of like, the world owes me this, or I'm this, like, just a lot different, right? Like, younger me was very entitled. And I feel like when you go through something like that, you understand, like, nobody owes you anything. You're fighting for everything that you want, right? Like, even my daughter's cheer competition, I tell her, like, if you want it, you go get it, right? You don't wait for it to come to you. You don't go out there and see what the other teams are doing. You perfect what you're going to do, and that's what you did.
Because that's the only person you can control.
That's the only person you can control, and that's why I just feel like I can't even answer where I would be at, but I know that I wouldn't be here.
I got it.
Very different person than back then.
But that's really cool that you understand that you know the shift, and you know that you were entitled. You felt like you think people owed you something. And that's a huge shift to go through. I realize no one owes me anything. I have to be the best for me. So that was awesome. I received that. What are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about life, And I know it sounds cliche, but I really am. I'm really passionate about just seeing people be their best self. I feel like that's one of my best things. It's like I love to motivate people. I love to see people doing good because I just feel like it's enough out here for everybody.
Absolutely.
And if we didn't, I feel like in my society, in my world, it's too much of a crab in a bucket mentality. Like too many people want to see what you're doing, see what you have, but not because they want to help you build upon it or anything like that. More so because they want to critique it or judge it or give their opinion of it or things like that. And I'm just like, I'm passionate about the things that matter to me, the things that matter in the world. And I'm just passionate about being me because I'm the only person like I can be. And I feel like if I authentically show up as me, then I'm going to impact every person that I meet.
That's true. Absolutely. I love that. Are you living a purposeful life?
In some ways, yes. In others, no. I would say I'm still finding what purpose fully is for me. I feel like one of my purposes is to motivate people. Like I said, I'm a big motivator. I am big on people seeing their worth and utilizing that for their purpose, right? Like, you know that you can do this thing, but a lot of times we self-doubt ourselves out of doing it. And I'm the person that's like, no, believe that you can and know that if you want it bad enough, you're going to work for it.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's one thing that like gets lost in society is that like most of the time people are where they are because they work for it. And if you're willing to put in the same amount of work and effort, you can be the same place. But a lot of people don't think like that. They think like, oh, well, what happened differently for them than me that got them there? And it's like, that don't even matter. What matters is what are you going to do for you to get you there?
Exactly. I received that. So you've gotten some wisdom in your little 31 years. Because
I'm not even that old. But that's also the power of therapy. Like I said, like when you go through things and you seek therapy instead of, I always used to tell my daughter this, like, I sought therapy instead of revenge. I sought therapy instead of trying to figure out the whys. I'm like, let me have somebody help me process what I'm feeling and help me figure out the whys because I don't know. And when I did try to do it on my own, I came up with all kinds of things. And none of them helped me get through the problems, right? Like none of them were the solutions. If anything, they added more problems.
I received it.
So I just felt like, let me find somebody who knows more than me. That's a very non-Capricorn thing to do because Capricorns think we know everything.
Oh, I didn't say it. You did.
But I know. We do. And so I feel like that was a very non-Capricorn thing for me to do. And I feel like therapy really like changed everything. It did. It changed everything for me. It got me thinking differently. And that's why I believe in the power of a transformative mindset because I know where my mindset came from to where it is now. And it's not even the same. I would even look at myself and the way that I react to certain things. And I'd be like, did you just not even react to that? When old you would have been up in arms, like hostile. And I just been like, that's the change.
That's
the
awesome.
Change, right? Like that moment right there will let me be like, that's the change.
In therapy, it's what made you decide I need to seek therapy? Because most people think they don't need therapy, or they think, and that's kind of going away now. But they think, it's nothing wrong with me. I don't need anybody to tell me about my life. Blah blah blah.
I don't even know if it's just that they think that. I just feel like I can speak from my own experience. I come from a household where it's like feelings. What are those? Like you feel something, like you too young for feelings. Like that was like my dynamic. You too young for feelings. We don't care how you feel. Whatever. So it's like sometimes therapy just isn't where you go to because you just feel like you just gotta suck it up. And I used to be the same way. Like something bad would happen to me, I'd be like, suck it up. That's life. Like keep moving. And I also feel like that's detrimental too because you're weighing yourself down. Because at the end of the day, some point you're gonna self-reflect and be like, oh my goodness, this happened to me and this happened to me and this happened to me. And then you're gonna put yourself right in the pit of depression, right in the pit of stagnation. Like you ain't gonna know what to do. Like it happens to a lot of us. And that's why sometimes people say, oh, I went through a midlife crisis. No, you just thought about all the things throughout your youth and it became too much sometimes. And I don't want to be that person, right? I don't want to be in a moment of self-reflection that leads me to a depression because I haven't worked through 1,000 things throughout the years. And now as an adult, I'm just sitting back like, oh my goodness, and I could have done this better and I didn't do this and I forgot to do that and I should have done this. It's too much of a weight to bear.
I received that.
Too much.
in terms of healing, because healing it's just an everyday thing. I mean, it's not like you can take a magic pill and you're healed. And so in terms of healing, how would you say, where are you in your healing process? I'm sure you're still healing, but but you clearly have done some healing because your responses are different now. So I guess my question is, how do you see healing in your life, and where are you specifically when you think about what else I have to heal from, or are new things popping up?
I honestly don't feel like healing ever stops, because life doesn't stop, right? You go through different things every day, and you never really know which experiences that you need to heal from. I feel like it's not until you hear it out, right? Like sometimes when you say things out and you get like that feeling, like you ever said something and you be like, oh, I ain't worried about it. And then you start talking about it and you get riled up again. And it's your body letting you know, like, you're still worried about it.
Right.
So I feel like healing is that, right? It's like, I don't know. I know things that I feel like I've healed from because I know that my response in similar situations is different. But I don't even know all of the things that I need to heal from, because I don't even know until something else happens. I'm like, I'm a little too bothered by that. Let me think on if something like this happened before, and that's why I'm so upset, or so in this way or so in that way. And I feel like that's where the healing part still is. Like, it's like healing for me happens every day, because I feel like I got to heal through things that I haven't even thought about, right? Like, I'll tell you one thing, seeing my friends like with their moms, right, is still a healing process for me, because it's like, I'm excited and I want you to be with your mom and I love seeing y'all together, but then on my side it's like, oh, I wish I had that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something I never got to experience. So it's like every day is still like a healing process, because you don't know what situations you're gonna run into that you might not know how to navigate, or you might not know how to respond to. And it's like, is it because I haven't healed through a similar trauma, or is it because this is just not a lived experience for me? And so I kind of feel like that's why I am in my healing. I'm kind of like, I deal with things as they come. I've done a lot of the work to like work through the things that I can think of and the things that come to my mind when I'm like, I don't think I'm healed through this. Or like, hey, this has a certain type of feeling or emotional attachment for me. Let me figure out what this means for me. And that's like also what I feel like therapy does, is that like when I go into therapy, it's kind of like, you know, what's on your mind. But it's also like when I tell certain stories and I say certain things, my therapist can pull out what the pre-existing thing might be. And it's like, dang, I didn't even think about that. But now that you mentioning it, that do kind of like go right together. Like, that's a perfect example. Like,
how many years you been in therapy?
4.
So I just want to give you kudos, because so many people, like, first of all, you ask yourself a lot of questions, but that's a learned behavior, right? And did you learn that through therapy? And see, a lot of people never even ask themselves the question. They have blind spots. They think things are just happening, not understanding that they're happening for them and that they need to do something to make a change in their life, because we can only change ourselves. So, and kudos to your therapist. She's working you.
Definitely challenges me to think outside of the box.
Okay.
And definitely challenged me to think against myself. And I feel like that's the biggest thing for me, is because it's very hard for me, well, it used to be very hard for me to see other people's perspective aside from my own. And I felt like the end of my last relationship is what kind of like also propelled me into therapy a little bit. But what came from that experience was that I don't know everything. Okay, I don't know everything. And the things that I don't know, I'm willing to learn. And that's why I feel like the learned behaviors are coming from, because, like I said, in a relationship, same thing, right? Why do we argue? Because I'm saying one thing and you're saying one thing, and I refuse to see what you're saying and you refuse to see what I'm saying. But sometimes if we could just say, hey, okay, I don't agree with your perspective, but I value your perspective, because you have the right to one, right? Now, it doesn't mean that I have to agree with it, but you can say however you feel, and you can say how you perceive a situation versus how I perceive it, because my perception is my own reality, right? Like, if I tell you the sky is purple and I see purple when I look at it and you see blue, I still see purple. So
Correct.
My perception is my reality. And I feel like that's like something that a lot of people can't let go of, their own perception. It's like, Just because it's your perception doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's my reality. So I'm reacting to it based on what I see, and you're reacting to what you see. And sometimes those reactions can and should be different, right?
Well, you use the word perspective, and perspective to me, I'm really big on perspective because I believe that your real IQ is in how many other people's perspectives you can understand. Mm-hmm. Because we all come from something, right? Mm-hmm. And that something has shaped how we think, how we move, how we do things, right?
And that's what people don't consider.
And if I'm always looking from my perspective, then I have a very limited view of what the real world looks like, right? Yeah. So I love that you are into perspective, and I was listening to you in terms of relationship, and you saying reality. And the other thing that I've learned in relationship is that I can say, I'm now saying, I don't even, because my reality may not be a realistic reality. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I'll hear a person and I'll say, okay, I received that and I'm going to take a look at it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if I'm only looking at it from my perspective, then I'm not even really being fair to whomever I'm speaking to. Mm-hmm. Right? Because their point of view is just as important as my point of view. So I love that you get that. That's huge. For a relationship in general, that's just huge. Whether you with someone personally or professionally.
Definitely in professional, because like I said, it's like in professional, you don't know where they went to school. You don't know the people that, they did their training with. You don't know anything. So their viewpoint could be realistic for them because that's their lived experience.
Exactly.
And then it could be very different from me based on, my education or who I've interacted with. And that's why I said that, like, when you can step outside of yourself and say, okay, here's what I know. For me, this is what I know. This is my grounding. But let me hear what you have to say. Because on the other side of what I know, there's room for me to learn. And I feel like a lot of people don't go through life thinking that they can learn something from every person that you meet.
Oh, absolutely.
And you can learn something literally from any person that you meet.
Even a child.
Especially a child, because I feel like children are very unfiltered in that way. So definitely from a child, but I feel like life should teach you to go about it in a way that every person that you meet, you take something from.
I love it. I love it. So tell me about this magnificent paper that you wrote.
Yes.
I would love for you to share with the audience that story.
Sure. So my college essay was titled Defeat. The reason for that, and this is the story that I shared earlier, the reason for that was because, as I stated, my mom's side of the family, a lot of drug addiction. So one day I was getting ready to go to school. I came downstairs and my cousin was using drugs, but he was shooting up in his foot. And mind you, I'm like 12, 13 at the time. So I want to know, like, what's going on? Why are you doing that? And what's, like, the cause? Mm-hmm. And he turned to me. He just was like, I've exhausted all of the veins, so I'm using my feet. And at that time, I never even thought about it, like, okay, what that meant. But when I got to the college process, in Center Mentoring Program at that time, took us to a college writing essay workshop. And they were giving me a bunch of topics, and they were like, tell us about something that really, gravitates to you, because you want to, like, wow the person that's reading it. You want them to feel, and, that's why they want to select you. And I was telling my volunteer at the time about that experience. And I was telling them about what that experience meant to me and how I saw that experience. And I saw that experience as my cousin exhausted all his veins, so he found another vein to use for his addiction. But what I saw that as is when you've exhausted all other avenues in life, and instead of you, just giving up, throwing in the towel, you find another way to still get to what you need. And so that's what I kind of took from that situation. And I changed it to the feet, because we use our feet to move. We use our feet to go, to run, to walk. And I feel like in this setting, it's like you can't walk and see your purpose. You can't do anything if you refuse to move. And sometimes life, you just got to turn it around. You got to move. You got to, this don't work out, try something else. You exhausted this option, find another one. And I feel like that was very relatable in that sense. Even though it was a very different thing, it was still very relatable, you know, in the end.
I get that 100%. The thing I take away from it is that we make decisions about doing things, right? And in doing those things, well, some people hesitate about their decisions, but whatever the decision you make is the right decision because it's going to get you to the right decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Even if it's the wrong decision.
Exactly.
I say sometimes the wrong decisions actually lead you to the right places.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I love that. So, what's prosperity for you? What's living a prosperous life in your mind?
I feel like living a prosperous life is having the things that you need. And that's defined by you, right? Because some people say having a prosperous life is having a lot of money. Some people say having a prosperous life is having a lot of friends, having a lot of things. I just feel like a prosperous life has to be defined by you and what prosperity means, like you said, to you. Prosperity to me is family. Like, as long as my family is prospering, I can see my kids. I know that my kids are good. Like, my dad is 75. So right now, I feel like prosperity to me is just still having him. Because my dad always say, God promised you 10, 10. So it's like he's exhausted his 10, and he's still here. So in my eyes, I'm living a prosperous life because I still have my dad. I have my own kids. You know, I'm not hurting for money or anything like that. Like, so that's my prosperity, is that right now I'm blessed. God is providing as he should and could. And I'm just happy. You know, I feel like prosperity is happiness. What you find happiness in, it makes you prosperous.
I received that. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to share?
I know that one of the questions that I looked over asked about like an event or something in your professional life that kind of, you know, made you want to stay on the path that you're on. And one thing that I will add about that, and the reason why I love the organization I work for, Thread definitely professionally will have you on the path of wanting to be transformative and change lives and things like that. But there was one particular instance. So when I was a part of the incentive mentoring program, it was not like Thread. Thread has grown tremendously. And so I feel like we did what we had to do to graduate, but now the support that these young people have to graduate with Thread will bring tears to your eyes. And the reason why I say that, because it has. So we had a young person, her name was Asia, and she had to finish a bunch of courses to be able to graduate high school. And so they brought her into the office, and she was in this room with volunteers, staff members, all day long, completing course after course.
All day long.
And different volunteers were coming in shifts, to some were bringing food, but what touched my heart was that when she got done to come out the room, right, the whole staff team was out there waiting for her, like in a parade, you know, like let her know that like we are all proud of you. And I mean, this is just not just volunteers or other students or things like this. Like, this is our full staff team coming together, right, stopping what we're doing, busy lives, work, this and the third, to come together for this one student to let them know that we see you. Like, our full staff team,
I love that,
sees you. Mm-hmm. You're in our office. We're seeing the volunteers go in. We're seeing the volunteers come out. We're seeing people drop off food. We're seeing you not come out. We're seeing you trying to do your part to get to where you need to be. So let us pick up the rest. And that's what I love. And I feel like it's the most transformative thing about my job, is that it's like every day I get to work with people that are transforming lives all around the city. And every Monday I get to hear about it, right? Every Monday we have a stand up. They get up and they talk about wins, kind of like wins of the week. And when I hear about some of like the wins, you know, like, oh, we reconnected with this student. We found this student. Oh, this student graduated. Oh, we took our students on a college tour and 3 of them want to enroll in college who never even thought about college or college being a possibility for them. That right there transforms me, because it's like, this is why I do this work. Even though I'm on the backside of it, I still know that like every person I interact with, every person that we hire, every person that we move throughout the organization because we see a better fit, every person that we interact with, you know, on the HR team goes out into the world and does the work that then monumentally shifts the dynamic of Baltimore just through Thread, right? With all of our students,
I love it.
volunteers, collaborators. It's really transformative.
So, how was she at the end of the day? Like, I'm so curious about, like, because I'm sitting here thinking, God, that's an experience for her that most people never ever get in their entire life. A whole team of people, and it's all about you. So, how was she when she came out that room?
She was very happy. You could tell she was tired, but she was very happy. Like, we were just all out there, and it felt so good because it was like even the people who didn't know or hadn't seen the whole situation were fully in it, like fully excited, fully ready for her to come out, like fully ready to embrace her and to say, like, we see you, like, we're here rooting for you. Like, people came who weren't even at the office, like, got called from where they were to come just to be there in that moment and show that support. And I feel like she felt that because it's like now I still see her when we had other events. She comes to alumni events. So it's like I know that she was impacted because we still are in communication with her. And like I said, I've seen her at other events and had times to talk with her. And I always remind her of that moment. She's like, yeah, we don't remember that. Like, yeah, remember we was all in that. So it's like, I just feel like seeing stuff like that every day.
Yeah. How can you not be changed?
There you go. Because like I see it. Like I'm like, I was once there. And so to know that, like, to see me, right, to say, okay, I came out of this program, here's where I am. But then to know that I get to hear every week, almost every other day, that we're doing that for someone else who was just like me gives me even more purpose, right? It's like my purpose is the people, either to motivate them to change, to help them. Because sometimes you don't even help people, you don't give them the direct support. You just tell your story. And then they want to do or make a change for themselves.
I love it. I love it. So you've been blessed in more ways than one to work in a situation like that. So I guess the cancer just prepared you for the journey. I love it. I love it. I mean, because you were such a young person. I mean, to have cancer at such a young age is truly, it's more than just, it was just a way to wake you up in my mind.
Yeah, but I feel like it was so many little pieces that kind of like added to it.
Yeah,
it was like the loss of my mom. It was me having kids. It was uncertainties, like not really having the best support system during that time. It's just a lot of little things. And I feel like that's what transforms you as a person. You're transformed because one, you go into survival mode, right?
Got
it's
you.
like,
Yeah.
I got to make it out of this. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that looks like right now, but I know that I have to come out on the other side of this. And I feel like that's the transformative part, because it's like another famous saying of my dad's, if you do what you always did, you're going to get what you always got. So it's like if you go into something like that with a sense of entitlement, oh, this is happening to me. Oh, everyone needs to, give up what they're doing so they can do this for me, or whatever the case may be. It's like there can be a lot of entitlement around things like that versus the mindset of how am I going to get myself out of this? Right? Am I going to follow what they tell me to do versus think, okay, well, I know so-and-so had cancer, or I know so-and-so had a cyst and they got it removed and this is how it went for them. But you're not them.
Correct.
You're two different people. So it's like, how am I? What am I going to do? What work am I going to put in to be better for me? And I feel like when you deal with things like cysts and things like that, like you have to change your mindset. Mm-hmm. Because if you're constantly worried, your body stresses. Mm-hmm. And that also brings your energy down. It does not help you at all to be in a self-pity when you're going through things like that. Because you need to, in many words, speak life over yourself.
Absolutely.
You need to proclaim and declare whatever you want from the situation is what you need to focus your energy on. And I feel like the more, and I tell people this all the time, like the more you give negative energy to a situation, the more negative it becomes. But if you can speak to yourself and tell yourself, like, I'm going to get through this. Like, I'm going to get through this. Eventually, at some point, you're going to believe it and be like, I got to get through this. Like, it's not that I'm just telling myself
there are no other options.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm not saying at all that, motivating yourself is a cure for anything.
Oh, absolutely not.
But I am saying that motivating yourself will help you to not be in a self-pity, to say like, this is happening to me.
And it
You know, and
increases
how
your
am I?
chances of being, it increases your chances of getting to the other side.
It do.
It gives you the bulk, the energy. I mean, well, they didn't know that you don't fold, you just get molded.
There you go.
No, they didn't know.
That's what I'm saying. See,
They didn't
that's
know.
another thing.
They didn't know who they were talking
You
to.
gotta have your grounding. Like I said, you really have to have your grounding. And I actually recently just started going back to church, but I've always been surrounded by religion. Like I've always known
Right.
how to pray. I've always known that there was, you know, someone greater than me,
Absolutely.
looking over and watching over me. And I just feel like sometimes you just gotta know where your grounding is, and you gotta go there and figure out, how do I utilize this to like help me. And I feel like that's another part of like purpose and prosperity, is really understanding who you are and what those words mean to you. Because a lot of people see purpose as like servitude. Like, how am I serving? What am I doing? And it's like, that's not always the case. Sometimes your purpose and your self-fulfillment can be your purpose. Like seeing you through to the other side, like seeing you through to the person that you know you can be your purpose. All the time, your purpose doesn't have to be some mission or somebody else. Sometimes your purpose can genuinely just be you.
I receive it. I receive it. Let me just share something I learned from one of my coaches. Her name is Jade Simmons. And when she talks about purpose, her thought process is that purpose is the thing that you do that affects other people when you walk in the room.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that you do that helps the person? What is it about you? Like, and we all have something, right? But oftentimes sometimes people think purpose is this big magnanimous thing we need to think of. We got to check it off. No, God first and foremost gave it to us before we even got here. And secondly, we have everything we need. As long as you're serving each other, because we're first and foremost supposed to serve each other. So I love that you are really in tune with who you are and who you are becoming every single day. I love it. Is there anything else that you want to share that I didn't ask you?
No. The only thing is, you know, I just want everybody to be great. Like, I want people to be authentic. That's my last message for everybody, is just be authentic. Be you. If you're working on things, work on them, because nobody's perfect. I feel like people don't want to own what they need to work on because they feel like everybody else around them is perfect. And I'm like, comparison is the killer of joy.
Oh, yes.
Be
indeed.
authentic, right? Be yourself. Own who you are. Know who you are, and live in that. Like, if it's something that needs to change, work on it. Be a work in progress. Don't be a completed art.
And on that note, did you hear that? Be a completed art. I love it. I love it. Don't be a completed art.
If you know any artists, they'll always tell you that their art was never completed.
Yes.
They just
said,
okay, this is enough.
Oh, I love that. That was huge. Thank you, Serene Jackson, for coming. I appreciate you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, this is my pleasure. And that's another session of Purpose, Passion, and Prosperity. Are you ready? Thank you.